We bring in our insider, Dan Graziano. Dan, we've been saying for months the draft starts at 3. The Lions are one of the teams you are keeping an eye on in advance of this. So what happens at 3 tonight?
Well, the Lions would love to be able to trade out of that pick, move down just a couple of spots, not too far, and add another pick. And the reason is they have a group of players that they really like at that spot. Defensive players, including Clemson's Isaiah Simmons, who I'm told they've spent a lot of time talking to before this draft, as well as guys like Auburn's Derek Brown, Ohio State's Jeffrey Okudah, maybe a couple other guys at those defensive line and cornerback positions. So if they could get from 3 to, say, 5, they're still guaranteed to get one of those guys that they know they like and add another pick along the way. That is Detroit's ideal situation. At last check, when I talked to somebody there last night, they still weren't sure they were going to be able to find a trade partner. So if they stay at 3, look for one of those guys, maybe Simmons from Clemson, Okudah the cornerback, or the big defensive tackle Derek Brown if Detroit stays put.
Again, it becomes a game of chess here with the Dolphins making a decision if they really do want to get one of the quarterbacks. Do they need to go up to get him? The other team, or another team that you are covering, is the Chargers, who are sitting at number 6. And we're sitting here, Louis Riddick, just speculating on what happens if they decide to pass on any quarterback that might be available there. What do you know of their plans tonight?
Chargers are tough. Remember, we go back a few years, they surprised everybody taking Joey Bosa at number 3. They play their cards close to the vest, and they're a difficult team to get information about. The sense I get is that they're not eager to move up for quarterback, so that if the Dolphins are worried about the Chargers jumping over them to get a quarterback, I don't think they necessarily have to worry about that. At number 6, if they stay there, the Chargers have a large group of people. I was told by somebody there, a very large, surprisingly large group of people they like at that pick. They would even be willing to move down if they could. I don't think you can rule out quarterback for them for a number of reasons. Number one, the marketing aspect of it, moving into the new stadium in L.A., trying to sell tickets. Number two, they do like Tyrod Taylor, but there's a difference between liking Tyrod Taylor and building your entire future plan on Tyrod Taylor. So if they have a quarterback they think is a long-term difference maker, they could certainly take him at 6. They could go with one of the offensive tackles. I was told the Chargers are a team that likes their roster, feels like they could take the field now if they had to, and that puts them in position to take what they really feel is the best long-term helper. If that is a quarterback, you could see Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa go off the board there at 6 if one is still available.
All right, outstanding. Dan Graziano, thank you. We'll certainly be coming to you regularly, and I want to bring Dan Orlovsky and Ryan Clark into the conversation here, and it's worth reminding everybody that Cam Newton is still a free agent, and that could be an option, I guess, for the Chargers if they don't address the quarterback position during this draft. Ryan, what do you think? Let's start with what he said about number 3 there. Do you feel, if you're the Dolphins and you're committed to this decision that you want to get Tua Tagovailoa, do you think they should move up to 3 to assure themselves of getting him?
I absolutely do. I mean, we've seen this in many drafts before where we feel like teams weren't going to select the quarterback and there was no reason to trade up, but teams still do it. You can even go to the Mitchell Trubisky draft pick a couple of years back when he was drafted number 2 overall. And so if you want your guy, you need to make sure you take every step possible that you ensure he is your pick. And if Tua Tagovailoa is the quarterback that you want, the quarterback that you covet, you move up and you get him at number 3.
I need to throw some other teams in this because I had a good time doing it with Louis Riddick. So, Ryan, if we see one of the quarterbacks, whether it's Tua or Herbert, sliding past that 6 spot, it now brings, in theory, the entire rest of the NFL into the conversation. Raiders, we talked about Patriots, we talked about Cowboys. Do you see a scenario where that team or one of those teams makes a move for a quarterback, RC?
Well, you know what? I don't necessarily know if the Cowboys try to make a move up and get a quarterback. I think they wait and see what's there when it's time for them to make their draft pick in the late teens. But if they have some teams who feel like they're starting to get a little antsy and they know that Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa is available, I absolutely believe that some of those teams can move up. But it all depends on which one of those quarterbacks falls and where those teams have those guys on their board. And if those guys are the number 1 quarterback quarterback on their board behind Joe Burrow, I should say, then you have to make a move to get him, and that would actually make this draft exciting. So I'm hoping that that does happen.
Me too. I mean, as Lewis said before, then all you know what might break loose. Dan, let me turn to you because yours is the quarterback board I'm interested in. The name Jordan Love hasn't come up here yet, but he is a wild card in this process who, had it not been for the fact that we are living in these circumstances where he couldn't go around and travel and look at all these teams, he might be talked about a lot more than he is right now. Where do you expect him to fall tonight, and how close is he, in your estimation, to being as good as the other guys?
Yeah, he's another drop-off from really the top two. Obviously, Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa, and then Justin Herbert. There's a big gap between those first two, and then there's Jordan Love. I'd be surprised if Jordan Love goes in the top 15, 18 tonight. I expect some team to come back into the first round from the 20th to the 32nd pick, something like that, and find Jordan Love and go, okay, we're going to sit you, like I've talked about, being that Patrick Mahomes plan. We're going to sit you. There's no pressure for you to play this year, and we're going to build towards the future. He's not ready to step on the field right now, even if we had a normal offseason. So I don't think Jordan Love is going to be a top 15 or top 20 pick tonight, but I do expect some team to jump back in to the back half of the first round and draft him.
I want to talk